There are moments in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers that forced the fan base to stop, breathe, and really reflect on what this franchise has been, what it is right now, and where it might be heading. This is one of those moments, because when you strip away the noise, the hot takes, and the emotional reactions, what remains is the legacy of a head coach who defined an era in ways that are far more complex than simple praise or criticism. For years, Mike Tomlin has existed in a strange space within the Steelers universe. He has been respected, questioned, defended, and attacked, sometimes all at once, long before his tenure reached this point. Voices from inside and outside the organization questioned whether he belonged among the elite coaches in football. Those comments lingered, not because they were fair, but because they touched a nerve. Tomlin was never the schematic darling, never the coach constantly credited for drawing up genius game plans. Instead, his reputation was built on leadership, presence, and an ability to command a room full of professional athletes. What cannot be ignored is the list of accomplishments attached to his name. He tied the most wins in franchise history. He led the Steelers to multiple division titles in one of the most physical and unforgiving divisions in the league. He reached the Super Bowl twice and lifted the Lombardi Trophy once. These are not small achievements, and they do not happen by accident. Taking a team to the sport's biggest stage requires consistency, resilience, and the ability to navigate chaos over long seasons. One of the defining traits of Tomlin's teams was their response to adversity. When the Steelers looked flat, when they were embarrassed, when injuries piled up or expectations crashed, the response was rarely passive. Time and time again, they came back the following week sharper, more physical, and emotionally locked in. That was not coincidence. That was the result of a coach who knew how to press the right buttons, who understood the psychology of competition as well as anyone in the league. There were seasons when the situation looked nearly hopeless, a disastrous start, a roster filled with future Hall of Fame talent somehow underperforming, and yet, somehow, those teams clawed their way back into relevance, not always into greatness, but into respectability. That ability to salvage seasons, to refuse collapse, became one of Tomlin's trademarks. Players believed in him. They responded to his voice. They followed him into difficult moments when lesser leaders might have lost the room entirely. Inside the facility, Tomlin's presence was unmistakable. Training camps were filled with energy, constant interaction, sharp words mixed with humor, and an atmosphere that kept players engaged. He challenged them publicly, pushed them emotionally, and created a culture where accountability came wrapped in personality. For many players, that environment was the reason they maximized their potential in black and gold. Ownership valued this deeply. The belief that players still listened, still cared, and still responded carried enormous weight in a league where locker rooms can fracture quickly. Maintaining buy-in year after year is not easy. From that perspective, Tomlin delivered exactly what leadership wanted. The team stayed competitive. Losing seasons never became the norm. The Steelers were never irrelevant under his watch, but this is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable, because effort, emotion, and willpower can only take a team so far. There were games, especially during the regular season, where the Steelers simply wanted it more than the opponent. They played harder, they hit harder. They turned home games into emotional avalanches that overwhelmed visiting teams. That formula worked often enough to keep seasons alive and hopes intact. The problem revealed itself when the margins disappeared. In the postseason, emotion evens out. Every team wants it just as badly. Every locker room believes. When that happens, what separates winners is talent and preparation, execution and structure, the details, the adjustments. And that is where the Steelers often fell short. Talent acquisition became a lingering concern. Draft classes failed to consistently produce difference makers. Free agency additions rarely shifted the balance of power. Trades did not move the needle. Nowhere was this more glaring than at the quarterback position, where instability lingered far longer than a franchise of this stature should allow. Decisions were made, but few truly solved the problem. On the field, schematic disadvantage became harder to ignore. Opponents seemed better prepared. Offensive game plans felt predictable. Defensive adjustments came slowly or not at all. Situations that demanded innovation were met with stubborn consistency. The Steelers could look lost one week, then dominant the next, with little explanation beyond effort and emotion. That inconsistency defined the later years. A stunning loss followed by an impressive win. A collapse against an inferior opponent followed by a statement victory against a contender. It created a team that was impossible to trust when it mattered most. Fans saw it, they felt it. And over time, their patience thinned. Another element that quietly fueled frustration was resistance to change. In a league evolving rapidly through analytics, specialization, and expanded coaching structures, the Steelers often appeared slow to adapt. Simple operational details, from game management to replay decisions, became sources of criticism. Other teams leaned on support systems and specialized roles, while Pittsburgh relied on tradition and familiarity. This mindset worked in the past, when the organization was ahead of the curve, decades ago. The Steelers thrive by thinking differently, by finding advantages where others were not looking. That innovative edge once defined the franchise. Over time, it's faded, replaced by a belief that doing things the Steelers' way would always be enough. Eventually, everything reached a breaking point, the same qualities that sustained Tomlin for so long. His confidence, his defiance, his unwavering belief in his methods also limited the possibility of reinvention. When the voices grew louder and the results stagnated, there was only one direction left for the organization to go. What follows now is not about assigning blame or rewriting history, but about understanding what this transition truly represents for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is not simply a coaching change. It is a rare opportunity to rethink how this organization operates in a league that no longer rewards tradition by itself. The next head coach will not inherit a blank slate, but he will inherit a franchise at a crossroads. One of the loudest discussions surrounding the future centers on infrastructure. Modern football is no longer built only on what happens during practice or on Sundays. It is built in meeting rooms, film sessions, data analysis departments, and development programs that operate year-round. The teams that consistently separate themselves are the ones investing heavily in instruction, specialization, and preparation at every level. For too long, the Steelers relied on a streamlined approach that emphasized continuity and familiarity. While that philosophy once created stability, it also narrowed the range of ideas. Other organizations expanded their staffs, introduced new roles, and encouraged collaboration across disciplines. Pittsburgh, by comparison, often appeared to be working with fewer voices shaping the final product on the field. This becomes especially significant on offense. Communication issues, route confusion, and inconsistent execution were not isolated incidents, they were patterns. A lack of dedicated specialists showed up in subtle but costly ways. When players are unsure of assignments, when timing is off, when development stalls. Those are not just player failures, they are structural failures. Quarterback development stands at the center of this discussion. The Steelers cycled through options without ever creating an environment that truly nurtured growth. Young quarterbacks need constant attention, repetition, and tailored instruction. When resources are limited or spread thin, progress slows. That stagnation has ripple effects across the entire offense. The same can be said for game management. Small decisions accumulate, replay challenges, clock usage, situational awareness. The most successful teams treat these moments as skills that can be trained and optimized. They assign people to study them obsessively. They rehearse scenarios. They remove guesswork. When a team chooses instinct over process, it leaves margins unprotected. This is where the future head coach must think differently. The job is no longer about being the loudest voice or the strongest personality in the room. It is about building a system that supports players and coaches alike, a system that evolves, a system that seeks advantages relentlessly instead of assuming they will appear through effort. Alone, the Steelers once defined innovation. They found talent others ignored. They scouted differently. They challenged conventional thinking. That identity brought championships and sustained excellence. Reclaiming that mindset does not mean abandoning the franchise's values. It means applying them to a modern landscape. The fan base understands this instinctively. The frustration that boiled over recently did not come from a lack of appreciation for past success. It came from a sense that the organization was falling behind while insisting it was not. Fans saw other teams adapt faster, communicate better, and execute cleaner in the moments that mattered most. Now the pressure shifts upward. Ownership must decide how bold it is willing to be. This is not the time for half measures. Hiring a new head coach without empowering him to build a modern structure would repeat the same cycle. Titles do not matter as much as function. The question should always be whether a role exists, because it helps the team win. Every area deserves scrutiny: offensive philosophy, defensive, adaptability, player development, analytics, health and recovery. even how information flows during games. Nothing should be off limits simply because it has always been done a certain way. The league rewards curiosity and punishes complacency. There is also a human element that cannot be ignored. Players want clarity. They want feedback. They want to feel supported by systems that help them succeed. When that exists, talent flourishes. When it does not, even gifted rosters struggle to reach their ceiling. The next era of Steelers football will be defined by choices made now, not years from now. Comfort cannot be the priority. Alignment must be, everyone pulling in the same direction with shared language, shared goals, and shared accountability. That is how winning organizations operate in the modern game. The irony is that the blueprint already exists within the franchise's own history. The Steelers once thrived by being ahead of their time, not by protecting the past. Re-embracing that spirit does not erase what came before, it honors it, by refusing to let it become stagnant. What happened recently was inevitable once progress stalled and frustration met reality. The important part is not how it ended, but what comes next. The opportunity is there, waiting to be seized by leadership willing to ask hard questions and demand better answers. Because the margin between relevance and contention in today's league is defined by those who are willing to rethink everything they believe they already know. There is also a competitive urgency, tied to timing that cannot be overlooked. The league does not wait for organizations to figure themselves out. Windows open and close quickly, and patience without progress becomes wasted potential. The Steelers still have foundational pieces on their roster, players capable of anchoring a winning core if supported correctly. Maximizing those pieces requires immediate clarity in vision and execution, not gradual adjustment over multiple seasons. Another critical factor is identity. For years, the Steelers leaned on toughness and resilience as defining traits, and those qualities still matter. But toughness alone no longer intimidates opponents who arrive equally prepared, equally motivated, and often more strategically refined. Identity in modern football must blend physicality with precision. It must be felt in preparation, as much as in collisions. That balance has been missing, and restoring it should be a priority from day one of the new regime. The coaching staff that comes next will shape more than schemes. It will shape habits, how practices are structured, how mistakes are corrected, how young players are integrated instead of overwhelmed. Development is not accidental, and it is not linear. It requires intention, patience, and resources. If the Steelers commit fully to that process, the results will not only show on Sundays, but across seasons. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves throughout the NFL, ESPN is reporting that Stefon Diggs, one of the league's premier wide receivers, is reportedly joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. While the details remain murky, the mere suggestion of Diggs donning the black and gold has instantly ignited a frenzy among fans and analysts alike, sparking debates over the potential seismic impact on the Steelers' offense. Diggs, known for his precise route running, explosive speed, and clutch performances, would instantly become the focal point of Pittsburgh's passing game. The team, historically celebrated for its steel defense, has been seeking a game-changing offensive weapon, and acquiring a receiver of Diggs' caliber would be a dramatic statement of intent. Sources suggest that talks between Diggs' camp and the Steelers have been ongoing, though no official confirmation has been issued by the team at this stage, keeping the rumor mill in overdrive. The speculation has fueled countless discussions across sports media, with some pundits pointing out that Diggs' addition could open up opportunities for other offensive players while simultaneously giving quarterback Kenny Pickett a dynamic weapon to stretch defenses. The Steelers' fanbase, long accustomed to defensive dominance, has been quick to react on social media, with reactions ranging from ecstatic optimism to cautious skepticism. Many wonder how a high-profile acquisition like Diggs would fit into the team's system, given Pittsburgh's traditionally run-heavy approach. Meanwhile, NFL insiders are suggesting that this potential signing could trigger a ripple effect across the league. Teams facing the Steelers would suddenly have to prepare for a passing attack, led by one of the most consistent and explosive receivers in the NFL. Fantasy football enthusiasts are already recalibrating their projections, while sports analysts debate how this move could influence playoff races and division dynamics. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the rumor alone underscores Pittsburgh's ambition to pivot toward a more aggressive, High-octane offense if Diggs does indeed land in Pittsburgh. The Steelers' identity might evolve in ways that few imagined, merging their storied defensive tradition with a new, electrifying offensive threat. The league watches in anticipation, waiting for the next official announcement that could very well reshape the Steelers' trajectory for years to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.